Welcome to Sports Talk in the Burgh.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for another edition of Sports Talk in the Burgh. I'm your host, Michael Schuley, and on our desk tonight are three panelists. We have the guy that went as himself for Halloween, our own crappy hockey player, Tyler Gallo, the great pumpkin himself, Luke Yost, and the guy who's just like his drive will be slicing across your screen, John Hanna. So before we get into this, or let's jump straight into this, let's start off with the NCAA and how they will now allow athletes to make money off their likeness. Is this ruling overdue, and what are your overall thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it was
it's overdue by miles. I actually have a quote here from their president.
Good.
There's no question the legislative efforts in Congress and various states have been a catalyst to change. It's clear that the schools and the presidents are listening and have heard loud and clear that everyone agrees this is an area that needs to be addressed. So the president agrees. I don't know why this has taken so long.
I feel like the reason why it's taken so long is there's so much criticism about it. Like people are asking, like, you know, number one, where's the money coming from? Is it being distributed fairly?
I don't think the money's from the schools themselves. It's from outside companies. Like one of the good things about it.
Well,
hopefully EA's football is back.
Hey,
we'll
bottom
hopefully
line,
see that.
people were clamoring ad nauseum for this, like over the years. Just pay the athletes, and I mean, you could have made a lot of money off guys like Zion last year.
Zion, Murray,
a lot
Baker.
of guys. So this was long overdue.
Baker Mayfield. Yeah, if it's, and like the reason why I feel like it's going to be a great thing is we're going to get back to where we were with
where football should be.
Yes.
It really shouldn't, because players are getting paid anyway. Let's be honest here, but now it's just in the spotlight that they're getting paid.
Is it more of like, hey, we're going to allow you guys to pay your athletes now, or like, hey, we're finally admitting that you're going to pay, you guys are paying your athletes, and this is what
I
we're
also
doing.
don't think it's, they're allowed to make money. I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's the schools paying it, so I don't think Alabama can go, here, Tua, here's $4 million to come to Alabama. I think it's more like, you know, hey, Tua, this Alabama food chain,
do you want to do sponsorship for it?
Yeah. I think that's what they're doing nowadays.
I think it's good. And then, like, if you're still somebody who doesn't want to do or doesn't believe in it, just don't watch college sports. That's all I have to say.
Wow. What an enticing argument from Luke Yost. Don't watch. My favorite point, John Hanna. I could give more money to EA now if they bring back their games, what I've always wanted to do. Let's keep it now in the NCAA and stick with the Robert Morris University football team, who in the first time since I remember, probably you remember, is off to a hot start in conference play. They're currently undefeated. What are the keys to this team's turnaround, and can they beat Duquesne and challenge for the NEC title this season?
Well, to that, I really don't know where this has come from.
I honestly think it's a down but not out mentality. I mean, they've trailed in all three of their games so far in the NEC this year, and they've come back and win them. That's really been the big
you can't really state it that it's a fact of, you know, solid quarterback, because Bernard Clark switched the quarterbacks every single game.
I feel like everybody is pitching into the idea that, hey, listen, we are the underdogs, no matter, even if they are they're 3-0 now.
3-0, first time since 2010, Mike. 2010.
They're playing LIU.
LIU, who's an easy? I mean, say easy, but it's football.
We said easy against Kentucky State, and now look where we're at. They lost to Kentucky State. I feel like everybody's pitching in. Matt Gonzalez comes back. He's making big plays, caught a touchdown pass. Garrett Hauser, a freshman who really was
just
insignificant all year.
But can they beat Duquesne? Can they beat Duquesne, do you think, this up next weekend at LIU?
If they beat Duquesne at the Joe,
I think they have a solid shot, but it's also that CCSU game, because CCSU is really the cream of the conference.
And, all right, Mike, you're back.
All right, thank you guys, and I agree with you, the football team, very happy to see them turn it around. Now let's keep it in RMU here. And, you know, we're going to start off with our golfer, John Hanna, once we get over to him. Who do you think which fall sport athlete is having the best season so far this fall? John, let's start off with you, buddy.
Well, I'm dressed as a golfer. I'm going golf. Max Palmer, actually. He's been pretty good for the golf team. He has their lone win of the year. He helped them beat Towson in that last fall match. He's only finished outside the top 45 once, and that was his first tournament where he finished 11 over. He's been the highest scorer for the Colonials every single tournament except for the Taunton-Monia at Cleveland State, where Kyle Grube finished a couple shots ahead of him.
All right, yeah. Max Palmer's a good pick. I'm going to go Kayla Veloso-Lima. She's a freshman
solid for
the women's soccer team. 4 goals, 3 assists, 11 points, and 2 game winners. One against Ohio, one against Mount St. Mary's. She's somebody to watch, somebody to look forward to, somebody to keep your eye on the next 3 years she's here, and she can really turn this program into a winner.
Only a freshman, which is very impressive for her.
I think my player's got to be Emma Granger from the volleyball team.
Of course.
I mean, she's just had one of the most dominant volleyball programs in the program's history, and I mean, she's just picking up accolade after accolade in the NEC.
What is it now? 4 NEC Player of the Week?
And she's far and away the leader in kills, far and away the leader in points. She's just had an unreal junior season, and I think she's going to continue to do this and really lead this team to the promised land.
And an honorable mention that I was told, unfortunately, that I can't have because it's technically a winter sport. Reagan Kirk, freshman goalie for the women's soccer team, has had a great season.
What about Emily Curlett from women's hockey?
Curlett's been amazing as well. We can have both. We can say they're both been good.
Just the whole women's hockey team is my fall pick. Gephardt's been really good lately too, and so is Lexi Thompson.
Oh yeah, they're always going to be good. I mean, come on.
Alrighty, John Hanna, I'm going to have to disagree with the Reagan Kirk pick. The season has just started, and plus she didn't even play probably what you could argue their most successful weekend 2 weekends ago against Clarkson when they took them to overtime with 2 games at home. That was Ariel DeSmit in net. But actually, let's transition to hockey. Let's go to the men's team, though. They lost by 1 to number 12 ranked Penn State this past weekend. What does this close loss. What does it say about this team to you guys?
I think they can just hang with it.
Yeah, it shows they can battle. Last year against Penn State, they were outscored 18-8.
I mean, granted, they had that one slugfest at the island.
It was still 18 goals they let in when they only let in 2
this week. In that game.
Here's my thing: is that I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll continue to say it until they start scoring, is that without Alex Tonge, they have no
I think they have
guaranteed score on that
more solid
team.
option than, I mean, Murat's good, but Kappelmaster, 34 saves against the number 18 team. We've seen him do really well against these tougher opponents. I think Kappelmaster is the reason that this team is still where they are.
Kappelmaster is really good, but I'm saying, though, it doesn't matter how good your defense is, you got to put the puck in the net, and there is nobody on this team to do that. Grant Airbear was the lone goal scorer from the last game, and there hasn't been somebody that stood out to me at all in this team.
It's actually been Cameron Airbear. Grant Airbear was...
Cameron Airbear.
But Cameron Airbear, his brother, injured. 2nd goal of the year already.
Yeah.
Freshman.
But again, he has 2, but there's nobody that has 5 or 6.
Where's like the emergence of last year's freshman? Where's Adamo? Where's Spalacy? Where's... even guys like Nick Lalonde are off the score sheet.
Well, hey, and I mean, their goalie is what's keeping them in the game. Obviously, as you mentioned, Kappelmaster's been unreal since he came over here, but that's really all it is. They're hanging with these teams still. It doesn't mean that they're not. Their defense has been good.
If you only allow 2 goals, you should be allowed to score. I mean, not allowed, but you should be able to score those 2, like Luke said. They really haven't had those offensive explosions yet this year.
Yeah, it's been pretty underwhelming with their goal output this season. I will say that.
Yeah, the top scorer returning from last year was Luke Lynch. He had 31 points last year, only 10 goals. So really, you're not returning any scores. You lose Brady Ferguson
you have
and
passers, but no one who you can pass to put that puck in the net.
It's going to be a long season for this team if they can't find that person.
Yeah. All right, thank you, guys. Let's keep it on the ice and check out the women's hockey team. We're not going to start with John because I know he's going to make a comment about Reagan Kirk. Let's start actually with Gallo. Gallo, do the losses to Cornell this weekend concern you? And is this the team to beat in the CHA once conference play starts up?
Honestly, they concern me a little bit because they were able to hang with teams like Minnesota and Clarkson, and then Cornell, who's also a ranked team, just crushed them, and they didn't score any goals in the game. So I think it's a bit concerning, but I still think they're a good team, and I still think they are the team to beat in the CHA.
I would have to agree.
Yeah, the scoring.
I would say, though,
really concerning
with Cornell is that they didn't play. Their games against Robert Morris again were the past weekend were the first 2 games in the season. They were already ranked number 5.
Yeah,
there was a question: how good is this team really? And they showed up and showed out by a million.
Really handled
they were
the
really good.
And they ran into a hot goalie for Cornell and Lindsey Browning. No goals allowed, 35 saves last year. 1.34 goals against. So she's proven that she can, continue this stretch. And it's their first away game of the season. So, maybe you're losing some of that home crowd support, but I think they still are this team to beat in the season.
I would say Mercier is the only other option.
But
they're at the top right now because
they've played
sheer
2
record.
games against RIT. That's
exactly.
it.
And the only real tough opponent they've played was University of Minnesota Duluth, and they lost that game too. So really.
Yeah, and despite the loss to Cornell, Colonial's still getting top 10 votes.
Yeah.
They have 7 so far.
Well, hey, and that first line's always going to be dominant this season. That's really what it is. And they have had other players step up, like Emily Curlett. I mean, yeah, she's one of the top defensemen on that team, but they need the rest of their lineup to actually fill in for the rest of the scoring on the team.
Yeah, because you have the top line, Curlett, then who?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd say Marcuse has been doing well, but there's again, they're real top heavy with the women's team. But again, if they figure it out too,
I think if they figured out, this team's going far.
Yeah, I'd say so. Probably back in the top 10 in a blink of an eye.
All right, thank you guys so much. However, we're running out of time in this block. We'll be right back, though, after this commercial break when our panelists put on their general manager hats. Stay tuned.
I was physically at school, but my mind wasn't at school. I had problems at home. That's when I met Narnese. She started helping me a little bit, like, Nia, I don't know what you're doing, but your future is more important. She's my strength. It takes a village to help somebody get their diploma. It changes your whole life.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be flood. Next Thursday?
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So. I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
What to expect when you're expecting.
Like here.
A teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to team-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys. Preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey.
Ready for the... Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Home fire drills give your family a plan of action. In a home fire, you may have less than 2 minutes to get out. So when you drill, show everyone 2 ways out of the house, pick a safe meeting spot, and get there in under 2 minutes. Then practice home fire drills at least twice a year. You can even make them fun. So everyone knows the sound and exactly what to do when they hear a smoke alarm. Go to ready.gov/fire drill and learn how to prepare your family for home fires.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. Now, we haven't done this in a while, but let's turn our panelists into general managers and see what they have to say. We're going to start off with the Pirates. Boys, go ahead.
Thanks, Bubbles. All right, boys, here we go. Listen, Neil Huntington just got pushed out of Pittsburgh. Obviously, A.J. Burnett, Josh Harrison not there anymore. Who are your guys? What players do you keep? Do you trade? And who do you sign up for free agency to improve the Pirates this upcoming season?
Well, to keep, it's Brian Reynolds. He's young. He was effective last year. I think he can be that. He's 24. He can be that solidifying force in the outfield.
Yeah, I agree with that, keeping Reynolds. But obviously, you're not going to get guys like Garrett Cole or Zach Wheeler.
No, you're not going to get those,
but
especially with
Nutting at the helm. I still think they should probably trade Starling Marte or something. I think you can net something for him. But I think guys you want to target. Right. Here's a starter you want to target.
You know who else you should? No, you know who else you should trade? Or at least try to? Josh Bell. I know sure, he's an infielder. The people of Pittsburgh love him. But you have Jose Osuna, who's solid first baseman. And other than really Marte and Colin Moran, there's really nobody else on this team that has any sort of trade value.
Well, and here's some guys you want to target in the offseason. A good starter to target is Kyle Gibson from Minnesota. Last season, 13-7 with a 4.8 ERA for the Twins. He could fill in that 3-5 role.
They have more problems than starter. They have a problem in reliever because obviously Felipe Vasquez
did what he did.
So I think Will Smith, he's a good target for them.
All right, but who other than Josh Bell, if they keep him or they trade him, let's say they keep him, who else brings any sort of power in that lineup real quick?
I don't think really anybody, but the problem is, who's to say even for all this, they're in a position to play. Who's saying they're in a position to compete? Take a year off. Try to rebuild.
Yeah, I'm not sure you really can get more power outside of Bell in that lineup. You're going to get guys. Obviously, guys are going to hit home runs, but like it's not going to be as prolific as Bell did last year. And I think a guy that maybe could help you out a little bit in the outfield even is Cameron Maben. You know, he revitalized his career last year with the Yankees. 11 home runs and only 239 at-bats.
Yeah, he revitalized it with the Yankees. Who's going to say he's going to do the same with the Pirates?
Well, he's a pretty solid outfielder too, so he'd be a good pickup.
All right, let's move on. You know, let's just go almost across the street. Let's go to the Steelers. The trade deadline yesterday, 4 o'clock, wrapped up. No really surprising moves in the league. Nobody moved anywhere they went. If you were Kevin Colbert, the general manager of the Pittsburgh Steelers, what are you telling ownership be your expectations for the rest of the year?
Well, as a potential Army alum like Colbert was, I'm going to say try and stay around 500. You're not going to compete for this AFC North. I think Baltimore has.
So you're ruling them out. You're going.
I'm ruling them out.
There's no way the Steelers.
Baltimore has
can turn
that.
it around.
No, Baltimore has that locked down. Lamar Jackson has played well, and I don't think the wild card is really an option because you have 5 teams that are still solid candidates for that. Pittsburgh's number 6 on the list, but you have Buffalo, Jacksonville, Houston, Tennessee, and Indy are all solid candidates for those 2 wild cards. There's only 2 of them.
All right.
I mean, there's 2 of them. I mean, you can't fit 6 teams into 2 spots.
Gal, let me ask you this. Do you fire any coaches? Do you move anybody? Or you just kind of keep it the same?
I think you should stand
Wait
pat.
for Ben.
Obviously, yeah, wait for Ben. That's been the biggest problem this year. If they have Ben, they could have probably won at least 2 more games this season and been in the tie for the lead in that division. I don't think you fire any coaches. I think they've done what they could do with what they have right now.
And speaking of people to target, I think they should have done what Arizona did. The rushing offense has been terrible. I mean, not good this year. 26th in the league. I think they could have traded. Kenyon Drake was traded for a 6th-round pick. So find a low-risk, high-reward guy like Drake, bring him in, sort of have that 1A, 1B punch with Connor and Drake, and I think you can really get this team, maybe not going, but at least it's more than they have been so far.
Well, you know, James Conner, he's banged up now. A lot of that running back core is hurt. You know, how much these injuries affect this team, not just Ben Roethlisberger?
Well, I think it's injury-wise, not only on the field, but in that leadership. Because sure, Connor's there at practice, but if he's injured, he can't show the younger guys what to do. He can't show, the Jalen Samuels what to do when practice. Ben's hurt his arm. He can't tell Mason Rudolph how to throw a football correctly, what to look for.
Mason Rudolph's a professional football. He knows how to throw a football, John Hanna. Be honest here.
I mean, have you seen Nathan Peterman? He's a professional football player.
Way to bring Buffalo into this, John. But
he plays for Oakland now.
Ben Roethlisberger, obviously longtime leader in that locker room. That was the biggest really miss that this offense has is with Ben. He can't, like he said, teach the younger guys what to do on the offense and where to run.
Okay, so let's go back to something we talked about last time. Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph. Who are you going with? Who are you gonna right the ship to John Hanna's at best 500 season this year?
I think after that first half performance against Miami, I'd almost do it with Duck, but I think since Mason is already back in, it's his job to lose. I don't think he quite did enough to lose it. He's close, but I think it's Duck Hodges has to fight for that, but it's Mason Rudolph's job to lose at the moment.
Yeah, obviously that first half against Miami was pretty horrendous.
It was not good.
Not good, but they righted the ship, and I think Mason Rudolph, it's his job to lose, as John said. So.
All right, Gal, we're going to start back with you again here. Penguins beat the Flyers last night 7-1. What are some early season additions or moves they could make to kind of get the Penguins back to their Stanley Cup winning ways?
Honestly, I mean, they haven't been doing bad at all. I mean, they've been doing great this season, and I think they can. Obviously, you can get rid of some guys or free up cap space or get some good players in return. There's a lot of guys around the league you can go for. I just think they need to stay where they're at right now because they've been doing really well with what they have.
I think what they need, return to Gino. Gino's out. He's supposed to come back within a couple weeks, I think. But when he comes back, he brings a whole nother aspect to their game. Their power play is currently at bottom 10. Gino, on that second power play unit, boom. They were 5th last year in power play. I think that really the only big deal is Gino has to come back. And you mentioned the Flyers blowout. Doesn't matter. Guess what? It's the Flyers. They're terrible. Almost as bad as your Devils there. Wow. But I think this whole team revolves on Gino coming back. If Gino's back, this team goes far.
All right, yeah, and all those Stanley Cup championships the Buffalo Sabres have. Let's see. So, I mean, it's hard to say what they're going to do for the rest of the year. I think they have been doing, honestly, they've just been doing fine.
It depends on if this goaltending hand.
All right, so what would you give them a quick letter grade? What would you give their play without guys like Gino, Bukestad's been out too. You know, what are you guys going to give them so far in this season?
I'll give them a B. I mean, they've been doing well. I can't really see. I mean, they've been just doing great. That's all I can say about that.
I'm going to go B as well. They're third in their division. That's also helpful due to a weak division with teams like the Islanders, Philly, New Jersey, and Rangers.
And the Sabres.
No, Sabres are in the other division.
That's right. All right, we've got to the Riverhounds. You know, they just blew out their first round. They beat the team. They actually shut out the other team in their first round. How do the Riverhounds, what would you guys do? If you were in that front office, what would you do to make the Riverhounds marketable and people care about them?
I just honestly think the USL as a whole isn't really a marketable
think it's possible.
league.
I think it's the time of the season because Riverhounds starting, it goes through summer. Nobody really wants to go see soccer in the summer. And now when they're in the heat of things, you have Penguins starting up, Steelers are still going. I mean, Pirates, if they were competent, could be in the playoff hunt.
Even if they were competent, I don't know about that. That might be bold.
You never know. But they average 3,700 people a game, which from last year, they averaged 2,400. So they have that improvement. But their 370-29 is 22nd in the USL Championship League, and Highmark holds 5,000. It's also location. They play in Station Square across the river, but it's hard. I've been to games there. It's kind of hard to get to.
It's a bit off the beaten path. I've also been there too, and it's just like I think it's steadily increasing.
It's slowly increasing, but because you see the success this team has, blowing out Birmingham United 7-0. Nico Brett 4 goals for them.
Yeah, you just need to get like a bigger or more accessible stadium. That's really the biggest thing. And the USL as a whole is not a big marketable league.
I don't see. Is USL even on like ATT Sports Network?
I don't believe
I think
so.
if they get a partnership somehow with ATT, they could potentially go. Not far, but they could grow their market even more.
We'll give some more work for Michael Schuley, but when we come back, we'll have our final takes and we'll pick some games that are coming up this weekend. So stay with us.
Hey, Dad, I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh, ladies and gentlemen. And without further delay, let's jump into our final takes. Let's start off with John Hanna himself.
So for my final take, I'm going to take on cupcakes. You might think, what? Cupcakes? Everyone seems to like them, but I don't. For the context, of the 5 teams in the NCAA top 25 for football, the best records for out-of-conference teams that have played are Pitt at 5-3, Texas at 5-3, and Cincinnati at 6-1. There is no reason whatsoever that number 2 Alabama needs to play an out-of-conference schedule with teams that have a combined 10-22 record, including a 1-7 FCS team in Western Carolina and an 0-8 New Mexico State. At least Ohio State, number 3, took on Cincinnati, who's 1-6, Miami of Ohio, who's sitting at 4-3, and Florida Atlantic, also at 4-3. And LSU took on Texas in Texas and played them tough. And next year, unfortunately, doesn't get much better. Alabama's out-of-conference scheduled teams currently include an FCS team and the University of Tennessee at Martin. There's no reason whatsoever Alabama shouldn't prep for the rigors of an SEC schedule with teams like a West Virginia, a Pitt, even a Cincinnati. And Penn State last year took on Pitt in the battle of the Keystone State rivals. I think Alabama can do much better.
All right, thanks, John, for that take. And you would think I'd be doing a hockey take with my jersey, but I am not. I'm going to the World Series. Last night in Game 6, the Nationals were subjected to a potential series-changing call. However, it was all for naught. Anthony Rendon, 2-run home run. Trey Turner grounded a ball that was picked up by Robinson Chirinos, who threw it to first, and Turner ran into the glove of first baseman Yuli Gurriel. The ball went wide of first, but the umpires called Turner out on interference, and in the replay it showed that he was not too far out of the baseline like previously said. The call was not overturned, and it received significant backlash from fans and players alike, and from my standpoint, I agree. I think the umpiring needs to improve in the MLB to make it more interesting. Almost every play nowadays is subject to replay, and it's really ruining the game seeing all these umpires get calls wrong. And I don't think robot umpires are a quick fix either. Bottom line, umpiring in the league needs to change and needs to improve a lot.
All right, the Pirates have been cleaning house all season. We talked about on the GM segment. However, Bob Nutting has been vocal about his that he's upset with the losing culture surrounding the team. My question is, why has it taken Bob Nutting this long to realize that this team is not good and hasn't been good for a while? Yesterday, Bob Nutting told The Athletic, quote, "We need to be back on the winning edge," end quote. That cutting edge that Bob shared was. He's talking about the 2013-2015 playoff run. Sure, 2013 they won the wild card, lost in 5 to the Cardinals, but the last 2 postseason appearances, the team has resulted in being outscored 12-0. Get out of here with the cutting edge stuff, Bob. The Pirates' edge has been dull since 1992. All right. Here we go, boys. All right. Our last thing is final take, or not final takes.
World Series?
World Series pick of one game, Game 7.
Houston is bucking the trend. The road team has won every single game so far. I think it's going to be Houston winning their second World Series.
Well, here's my pick, and it's also Houston. The ghost of his postseason past will definitely haunt Max Scherzer tonight. Obviously, he was the main root of their struggles in 2017, I believe, where he blew the game against the Cubs. I think Max Scherzer, it's going to be a pitcher's duel, but I think Greinke's going to come out on top of that. He's been dominant at home this season.
Greinke's been dominant, and home teams haven't. Are finally going to buck the trend.
Listen, Scherzer's not seeing the postseason ghosts like our boy Sam Darnold is doing at the Jets. But listen, tonight, Max Scherzer comes back, dominates, goes 7 strong, maybe gives up a run or 2 here and there, but he's still going to win the World Series now. RMU, though, football, taking on LIU, Brooklyn, just LIU in general. The
Sharks.
The Sharks. Who is winning that game this weekend?
It should be football, but we've seen them put downers before.
The Colonials, right?
Yeah,
okay,
Colonials. Cool. Yes, football. It should be the Colonials, but we've seen them put downers. Kentucky State obviously comes to mind. This LIU team is not good whatsoever. They're 0-7 so far. None of their games, their only close game was against Bryant, losing 27-22. This team is not good. I think the Colonials can handle them.
Gallo, very quickly, let's talk about volleyball. Bryant, SHU, how they win? Are they winning both of them? They dropped 1 or 2. Very quickly.
They're winning both.
Okay, cool. That was quicker than I thought it was going to be. All right, listen. For everybody upstairs, Michael Shuley on the side, Tyler Gallo to the right, my left, and John Hanna. Thanks for tuning into Sports Talk in the Burgh. We'll see you in 2 weeks.